All right, guys, let's start our meeting today. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to record this for posterity. So that is, what does that show? Princess Bride? Remember, be honest. This is for posterity where he's torturing the guy down in the pit of despair. Hopefully you guys are all up to date on your Princess Bride quotes. If not, you have a weekend assignment to go and rewatch it. All right, let's get started today, folks. If this is your first time joining me, my name is Eric Lee. I'm the principal broker for the state of Utah, but I've created this training to provide resources for all of our agents nationwide so that you have a good framework to build your real estate business on. So with that said, let's jump right into it. Oh, in fact, I need to go and start the actual presentation before I can share it. So, all right, now I can share. All right, so to continue the introduction, this is live. I prefer that you all mute yourselves unless you intend to talk. If you intend to talk, that's great. That's the benefit of attending live. You can ask questions, you can get clarification, you can sound out ideas. That's all fine and dandy. But what we don't want to have is conversations caught up in the background, dogs barking, things like that. So if you can keep yourself muted unless you actually intend to talk, then we're good to go. If you have questions, comments, feedback, other things you'd like to see training on, please email me directly at brokerericlee@gmail.com. If this training isn't sufficient for you because we have 1 hour to cover a lot of information and you would like more detailed training, then I have created an online course at eliteagenttraining.com with all of this information and probably 2 or 3 times more content that you would then have an online course available to at your disposal 24/7. And then I've also made a series of quick little videos on YouTube. If you go to Elite Agent Training and subscribe there, then you can see a list of other things that I've created. And I had an agent, I think it was just last week, request a video, and we had that made within 24 hours for them and posted there. So anyways, those are all the resources that you have with training with us. Every week we try to do a little bit of homework. The idea isn't to come and entertain you guys, although I am incredibly entertaining. That is not the whole purpose of this, to grab a bag of popcorn and watch me go through a PowerPoint. The idea is for you guys to put some of these things into practice and improve your business little by little, week by week. This is a revolving 12-week course. So even if you could apply a little bit of it, and then revisit it again in 12 weeks. Say, okay, I've got the framework built. Let's expand on it a little bit more. This will be beneficial to you. If you don't ever do the homework, though, then this isn't going to help you. You've got to do the work. So last week's homework was, we talked about farming and we talked about the power team. Hopefully you guys have done these. The power team one especially. If you choose not to farm, I get it. It's hard. Only about 4% of agents are willing to do it the right way. But the power team should be something that everybody is doing because you're already working with these people. Why not take that one little extra step? It's, again, that same concept, and I mention it a lot because it applies a lot, is we're already doing almost all of the work. And so if you take this concept of boiling water, I can't remember what the degrees it's boiling. Some of you guys could probably type it in the chat and remind me. But if you're 1 degree below that level, you got hot water. If you got 1 degree above that and you're boiling it, you've created steam, and you've got an entire revolution. The Industrial Revolution was based on steam power. There's so much more that can be done. You're already doing almost all of it. Take that extra step or two to work with your power team, and it adds a lot of power to everything that you're doing. All right, we're going to start with a quote from Henry Ford today. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. And I love that because we're constantly learning and building and improving on ourselves in this business especially. So today we're going to be working with for sell by owners. This was one of my favorite ways to build my business. We're going to go over some different scripts for you. We're going to actually break away and do a full sample for sell by owner presentation. We're going to talk about lead follow-up and some of the scripts that you can use there as well. Before we do any type of sales, though, we need to be putting ourselves in the shoes of the person that we're trying to sell. right? So we need to understand what are their challenges. How can we solve these challenges for them? How can we provide a real true value? We're not just trying to sell somebody something. We're trying to provide a real value and a real solution to the real life problems that they are facing. So let me tell you where I got this information, and then I'll share a few things with you as well, in case you don't trust me and you want to look at national statistics and stuff. So I got this information because when I started in real estate, I had been doing mortgage lending for a few years. And as part of my mortgage lending, I was teaching a class for adult education in different high schools, about the basics of mortgages. So I decided I would do a for sale by owner class. Now, since then, I've been challenged multiple times by agents saying, why would you teach people how to sell their home by themselves? Isn't that undercutting our industry? And they simply don't get the vision. Okay. And when I do the for sale by owner presentation, it's exactly what I'm going to be sharing with you guys. When I do that presentation, you guys are going to see, you guys are going to see exactly why I did the for sale by owner classes, and hopefully that helps you out. Okay. So let's talk about their challenges. Number one, pricing their house to sell. When I talk with for sale by owners and I'm doing these classes, I've got anywhere from 2 to 20 for sale by owners in there, all at different levels of experience, whether they've just barely posted their house on the market, or they've had it up for 3 or 4 months, or they're just thinking about it. Okay. But pricing their house to sell, they were an extreme disadvantage. What they were doing is they were doing everything from getting their neighbors' flyers, which shows asking price, doesn't show price reductions, doesn't show concessions, doesn't show closing costs, anything given away like that. And so they may have even talked to their neighbors, and their neighbors said, yeah, we sold it for $400,000, but they didn't say, we gave this much back in concessions or this, that, or that. So their information is incomplete at best. Some of them just went online, and again, they're getting not very accurate information online either, usually just asking prices, not sales prices. Some of them were going off of their tax valuation notice. In fact, I just talked with somebody this last week who sold their house based on a tax valuation notice, and that is typically 20 to 30% low, an estimation of value. Anyways, some very distinct disadvantages there. Staging the home. And by staging, I don't mean necessarily making it look pretty. They're just thinking, what do I need to do to get it ready to sell, right? Do I need to do that full kitchen remodel I've been wanting to do for 20 years? And a lot of them are thinking that, hey, I think this home has needed this forever. I want to do this so that I can sell it. So they finally put all this money into it, and they don't understand that their return on investment is maybe 50% is about the highest ROI on most home renovation projects. There are a few things you can do to clean it up, but usually they're simple things. And so they're challenged with that. Legal paperwork. Anybody that had been down the line far enough, meaning they weren't just thinking about doing it, but they had actually been doing it, and they had experienced offers or something, legal paperwork was always scary and frustrating for them. Working with other realtors, because even though they were a for sale by owner, they were constantly getting called by buyer's agents saying, hey, can we see this home? Or they were getting called by listing agents saying, hey, can we, would you like to work with us to sell your home? And all the different strategies that they use. That was frustrating for them. Marketing. They don't know what to do to market. I'll show you some stats here in a little bit. Is it yard signs? Is it word of mouth? What are they doing to market? A lot of them don't even consider the idea of getting a buyer pre-approved. Okay. They haven't been through this. They don't do this month in and month out. This is something they do at most every 3 to 5 years. For some of them, it's once every 20 years. They don't know what they don't know. And so they'll accept an offer for somebody that's not pre-approved. And that, of course, can lead to lots of challenges. Safety concerns, I'm showing the home by myself. Maybe they're letting their kids show the house. And then just the time of it. I've got a full-time job. I've got, this going on. I volunteer over here, and now I'm showing the house and trying to manage the schedule. These are all very real challenges that every for sale by owner faces. And they recognize these things when you point it out to them. Okay. But when you don't point it out to them, they think, oh yeah, I could probably sell my home myself. I know in Lowe's where I can go to, buy a sign. And they don't think any further than that. I know where I can buy a sign. But when you talk with them about these challenges, everyone will be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, that is going to be a problem. Oh, I don't know where to do that or how to do that or where to get that information. Okay. So they do face real challenges. What we don't want to do, and I've seen a lot of trainers train working with for sale by owners, where you treat them like they're stupid. You're talking down to them, like, why would you even think of doing this? How dumb can you be? And it comes across in that tone of voice almost. We don't want to do that, guys. Okay, these are intelligent people. They're successful. They're adults. Everybody wants to be respected. So we're never going to talk down to people that we're trying to work with. Okay, we don't treat them like they're stupid for wanting to save a little bit of money, because really that's what their goal is. So let's go over some of these stats. This is from 2020. Okay. So every once in a while, the NAR does some studies. That's where these come from, is the National Association of Realtors. But for sell by owners accounted for 7% of home sales in 2020. The typical for sell by owner home sold for $260 compared to $318 for an agent assisted home sale. That's a difference of almost $60,000. So if you do the math on that, if they had hired an agent with a full, let's say a 6% commission, commissions are all negotiable. Let's say they did a 6% commission. That commission would be $12,000 versus a $60,000 loss, or $58,000. Okay. So that's $46,000 more they would have made if they had hired a real estate agent. Why this discrepancy? Again, we're not talking to people because they're stupid. They simply don't know. And there's a difference between stupid and uneducated. So my approach to this from the very beginning has been, how do I educate people so that they can make smarter decisions? So when I went in and I taught this class, and agents are challenging me like, why would you give this information away for free? You know, you're undercutting our business. No, I'm not. I'm teaching people the reality of how hard it is to sell their home. You guys know how hard it is to do this job. This is not an easy job. Okay. Yeah. Over the last 3 years, there was kind of an anomaly where you post a home for sale and it was sold immediately overnight with 20 offers all above asking price and removing all their concessions, you know, and even their rights for due diligence and inspections and appraisals and all that stuff. That was an insane time. There's never been a time like that in history. I hope there's never another time like that in history. It wasn't a good time. Okay. Record number of sales, but it wasn't necessarily good for the public. And I don't think it was good for our industry because agents got lazy in how they did their jobs. Okay. We need to be good at providing value for all of these things. Okay. So when we educate people, they go from being uneducated to being educated, and then they make good decisions. So when I taught my for sale by owner class to people, my job was to educate them. These are the real challenges you're going to face. When they realized all of these real challenges, many of them said, well, some of them immediately there that night of the class said, you know what? I don't want to do this. I'd like to hire you. And then the follow-up later on would get me even more from that. Okay. And very rarely did I find somebody that said, this is awesome, I'm going to go do all of this work. In fact, I could say the same thing goes for this class right here. Very rarely do I teach a group of agents where they say, you know what, I'm going to go do all this work. A lot of them simply don't. This is not easy work to do. So I've got no problem sharing this information with my people. I don't think you should have a problem either sharing this information with for sale by owners around you, because they need to be educated. Again, they're not stupid. They just haven't been educated. Here's the methods that they use to market their home. None. 34% didn't market their home at all. 26% used a yard sign, and that was it. Can you imagine how limited your business would be if it was just a yard sign that you did all your marketing with? Word of mouth, 23%. 18% of them found an MLS entry-only service to put it up on an MLS website, but they didn't have any representation beyond that. Social media coming in at 14%. Open houses. That's surprising that 14% of them actually did their own open houses. That's pretty rare, but this is a nationwide survey here. Anyways, you guys can see what they did. And again, you can start to see your real value. This is marketing. You know everything that you do. This is what they're doing. Do you see how much value you can provide there? My first job today is convince you guys of your own value, so that when you approach your sphere of influence or the for sale by owner, You understand your value so that you can better communicate that, because that's part of the sales job. Most difficult tasks, 2021 survey. Preparing, fixing up the home for sale. So that's the staging. What do we need to do to get it ready to go? Getting the right price. So from my own personal experience, those top two things, that's the same thing that I had to in my personal experience. And nearly 20 years later, those two things hadn't changed. The legal paperwork, that comes in at a solid third. And then we've got a couple of ties back here, selling within the planned length of time, having enough time because they're busy. This isn't their job. They've got other jobs. They've got their kids. They've got their families. Having enough time to do all of it is challenging. Marketing and getting people pre-qualified. Okay. So these are their most difficult tasks. Again, all of these things were things that I experienced when I was building my business 20 years ago. So these challenges are consistent. So what is the goal of the for sale by owners? Very simple. They want to save some money. Now, if they understand your true value, they understand that they're saving money by hiring you. They're actually losing money by not hiring you. But we shouldn't disparage anybody for wanting to save money. That's smart. It's an intelligent move. So what we need to do is we need to communicate our value. They want to sell their home. We can help them do that. They want to get the most money possible. We can help them do that. Without us, they won't get that. They don't want to be sued. Nobody wants to be sued. Getting sued is very scary. We can help them do that. We live in a very litigious world right now. People are getting sued over everything. Do you think that you will have hundreds of thousands of dollars in a transaction with crappy paperwork that isn't filled out correctly and not have that end up in a lawsuit? No way. People are terrified of that kind of stuff. And if they're doing it themselves, there's a good chance they'll end up there. They will, in the end, they want to move on, live happily ever after. So our job is to take care of them in these ways and provide that value. So let's go into a script that we can use here. Okay. First of all, when I developed this script, this was for calling, but you could use this same script if you are, if you're just driving past a neighborhood and you see a for sale by owner, you could stop and chat with them. Okay. But a couple of rules. Number one, you want to be truthful. And I'll point out, because some of you might read this script and say, how is this really truthful? Okay. Hi, I'm calling about your home for sale. Is it still for sale? First question I ask is it still for sale? Because sometimes when where we're getting our information from is not up to date. Okay. They may have gotten their home under contract, in which case this is a numbers game. I don't want to waste a lot of time if their home's already off the market. Okay. Also, a quick detail here is that when the National Do Not Call Registry came out some years ago, I think it's been over 10 years now, NAR went to bat and said, hey, this shouldn't apply to us. We're not soliciting. Obviously they've put their home up for sale. They want to talk to a realtor, and we got shot down. Okay. We did not get that passed. So the National Do Not Call Registry does apply to us in a for sale by owner capacity. What we are allowed to do is if we have a legitimate buyer for that home, then we can call. But if we're calling to market to that home to be their listing agent, then the Do Not Call Registry does apply to us, and we need to be keeping those rules. I've heard brokers say, oh, that never happens, but you know what? You don't want to be the guinea pig. Okay. It doesn't happen for a lot of people because you know how many spam calls you get a day? You know how frustrating that is, right? The reason those people, it doesn't get enforced on them is because they don't exist, but you do. Not only do you exist, you're easy to find because you've put your phone number, you've put your office address, you've put your email address out there. They know how to get a hold of you. They know how to find you because you're real, you're legit. And if you're breaking these rules, you're easy to track down and get fined. So we do want to be getting our, if we're doing phone calling, we want to be buying our leads from a clean website, basically. So there are different programs out there, software programs like RedX, and you can Google these, but they've scrubbed the names and numbers against the National Do Not Call Registry. So if you're calling those numbers on the list that they provide for you, then you should be safe as far as compliance with the National Do Not Call Registry. Okay. So look for a company like that. Obviously, if you're just dropping by because you see a sign in the yard, then the Do Not Call Registry laws don't apply to you. Okay. because you're just dropping by somebody in your neighborhood. So first of all, is it still for sale? If it's off the market, you say, great, thanks for your time, and you move on to the next one. If it is still for sale, great. My name's Eric Lee with Equity Real Estate. I'm not calling to try and list your home. Now, the reason why I want to introduce myself is because a lot of the feedback that I got from for sale by owners was that agents were posing as buyers. And that could get them into the home, but then the people were very disenchanted with them. Like, you know, we feel like you're dishonest with us. And you're not winning listings by being dishonest. So I tell them right up front, my name's Eric Lee with Equity Real Estate. I'm not calling to try and list their home. Is this true? Absolutely, because the next sentence, I consider it part of my job to find out about the homes for sale in neighborhoods I work in. Guys, does this give you an advantage? Knowing about all the for sale by owner homes? Let's say that you've got a buyer and you know about homes that are for sale by owners. Does your buyer have better options than an agent that hasn't done this work? Than an agent that doesn't know about the homes that are for sale by owner? Could your buyers potentially get a better deal if these homes are selling on average for $60,000 less than a home that's marketed on the MLS? It is absolutely part of your job to find out about homes for sale in neighborhoods you work in, whether they're on the MLS or not. Okay, so that is 100% honest. And if we can get a listing out of this process, that's great, but this is part of our job. Okay, in return for your time, I'm going to deliver to you a for sale by owner guide that's helped thousands in the selling process. I downplay that. I don't put a lot of emphasis on that here because they don't know me and they don't have any reason to trust me yet. Okay, but I want to start out asking them some questions. One of the rules with one of the reasons why I say I'm not calling to try and sell your home is because when you get a telemarketer on your phone line, about 98% of your brain is devoted to, damn it, I want to get this guy off the line and go about my job. Okay, like go back to my life. I don't want to deal with this person. And especially in our day and age where there are so many scam callers, making phone calls is hard. A lot of people simply don't answer their phones anymore. Now, when they've posted a home for sale or something for sale, a lot of them will deactivate that service on their phone so that they're accepting calls from numbers that they don't recognize. So, you know, you still may be able to make phone calls on this, but it's definitely more challenging. But I say I'm not calling to try and list your home because I want them to keep their minds open. I don't want that 98% of their brain dedicated for me taking a breath and them say, I'm not interested and hang up on me. Okay, I want to pique their interest a little bit. And I do need to find out about the homes for sale in neighborhoods that I work in. So again, I've heard other trainers say, you know, that you start asking them questions to determine how serious they are. You know, when do you need to move? You know, what's your impetus for moving? What's your timeline? What's your schedule? Guys, do any of you, and I'm going to stop sharing so that I can actually look at your faces. Do any of you hear those questions and think, oh yeah, I'm going to volunteer all that information to a complete stranger? We just don't live in that world anymore. Okay. Yesterday in my office, starting at about noon and going until so far this morning, I woke up, my first text was around 7 o'clock. Somebody gets my agent list about every 3 months, and they go through every one of my agents, trying to text them to run out to a grocery store and buy gift cards, right? Now, we're all familiar with this scam. Thankfully, none of my agents have ever fallen for it. But I've dedicated now nearly 24 hours to telling my agents, no, this isn't me. In fact, now I can just copy and paste and say, nope, these are scammers. In fact, I'm thinking of having a competition for the funniest response and see what my agents come up with, you know, to reply to these scammers. But my point is that that's the world we live in now. Okay, we don't trust anybody for anything. So am I going to start giving up personal details about my motivations for buying or selling or anything like that to a stranger I don't know? Absolutely not. So the reason for this next section here is I need to ask, what is your asking price? This is not personal information. This is something that they've probably published, right? And it may even be on the listing that I saw, but I want to know if my information is accurate. But more importantly, I want them to get into the comfort of answering questions. What is your asking price? How many bedrooms and bathrooms? Okay, the things that we're asking are the things that we would need to do a comparative market analysis. Okay, and the last question, if we've gotten them used to answering a few questions, asking price, bedrooms and bathrooms, does it have a garage? The only personal question that we're going to ask comes at the end, because a lot of times the ads don't have their address. If you have their address in the ad, that's great. You're good to go. But otherwise, the real pertinent information is, okay, now what is your address? Then we can close with this. Thank you for your time. I'll be working around your neighborhood this week. I'm actually going to be working in your neighborhood this week, and I'm wondering if I could drop by and see your house. The real magic of this happens with a personal contact, because now they know that I'm not a scammer. I'm a real legit person. I show up, I look professional. I've got a notebook so I can take down some information, and I'm going to bring along that for sell by owner guide, I promise. The reason why I say I'll be working around your neighborhood this week is because nobody wants to be beholden to you, meaning they don't want you to make a special trip out there, because then they'll feel like you have an expectation of them. They don't want to be indebted to you in any way. So if you just happen to be there in the neighborhood already, sure, go ahead and drop by. If they say, can you just drop that guide off at my door? I won't be home. Then I say no. I say, actually, don't do that, because it is great information, but I walk everybody through this information because sometimes you think you know something, and so it leads you to take action that's half-baked, which can actually be more damaging to you than no action at all. So I always deliver this for Sell by Owner Guide in person so that I can go through it and answer questions with people. And again, my emphasis isn't on the for Sell by Owner Guide, but if they do happen to ask, will I just drop it off? The answer is always no. I always deliver in person, because otherwise I'm providing a disservice to you. And again, my goal here is to find out about your home. I would love to walk through it so that I know what offerings are out there when I'm working with buyers. Okay. So there is that. Now I'm going to take you to, actually, I think I need to stop share that, share a different screen. Here we go. All right. So do y'all see this Word presentation? Do I need to zoom in a little bit? Oh, there we go. That good?
Looks good to me.
Thank you. All right. So this, by the way, this information is available to you. It's on Elevate. If you go under the training menu up at the top and hit that drop-down menu and go down to Elite Agent Training, you can get an example of this. It is in Word format, which is easy to customize for you. You could copy and paste into a PowerPoint presentation if you wanted to, but I do like having a paper presentation that I can easily drop off to somebody. I also like having a few of these in my car so that if I do drive past a for sale by owner in my neighborhood, I could hop out and knock on their door and use that similar script. Say, hey, I just saw your for sale by owner sign. I'm a neighborhood that works this, or I'm a real estate agent that works this neighborhood on a regular basis. And I would love to get more information about your home. I consider it part of my job to find out all about homes for sale in neighborhoods I work in, whether they're listed or for sale by owner. Is there a time that I could see your house in the next day or two? And again, there's this little piece of them that's, a lot of them says, I don't want to talk to another real estate agent. They're always calling me. But there's a little piece that says, maybe this is the person that helps me sell my home. Okay. And that's all I need, is that little piece. And so I get in the next day or two and I say, by the way, I've got this great for sale by owner guide. It's helped thousands of people in selling their home. Okay. Now you may not have, but this guide has, and I've used it a lot. So, all right, valuable tips to help the for sale by owner sell their own home. So here's how this works. When I go out and meet them at their place, I walk through the home just as if I were doing a listing walkthrough, right? I meet them, we say hi and everything. Thank you so much for showing me the home. As I walk through the home, I'm taking notes. And we're talking about, if you've watched my listing presentation, we're talking about fixtures, right? So are you planning on keeping this? What about the fridge, the washer and dryer? It's amazing how people have not considered these things. Even just that little bit where they're like, oh, I never thought of that. Okay. Even that little bit there makes them think, maybe I should have a professional. Maybe I didn't quite think this through all the way. Okay. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm also going to be building rapport with them so that I can ask them more personal questions, the things that I couldn't ask over the phone. So as I'm walking through the home, this looks like a lovely house. I really like this home. Can you tell me why it is you're moving? That's not something I can ask over the phone as a stranger, but it is something that they'll answer for me there in person. That tells me somewhat of their motivation. Okay. I can ask, how did you get this price? Oh, my sister's a real estate agent. Oh, really? Oh, that's great. What a small world. Is she from around here? No, she's in another state. Okay, good. I'm still good to go, right? Maybe she's from 2 counties over. I'm still good to go. They don't, because what you got to understand is most people, even with their family, most agents don't do a very good job of communicating their value. So here I am, a hardworking agent that clearly works this neighborhood. Their sister lives 40 minutes away. She doesn't specialize in this neighborhood, and I know she only closes 1 or 2 deals a year. So I kind of want to work with this guy. I just don't know how to make that work with my sister. Okay. Guys, I've gotten business from people whose siblings were sisters, whose neighbors were realtors, or whose siblings were sisters. My goodness. Whose siblings were real estate agents. Yes, I've gotten work with people who had siblings that were sisters. That's so impressive. Sorry, guys. It's early morning. I get talking fast. I get excited about this kind of stuff. All right.
So a little humor helps.
Yeah. So we're there at their home. We've walked through the home. We've built a little bit of rapport with them. That's good. We found out a little bit of their motivation. That's good. We found out how they're priced their home. That's good information. We've put in a little bit of a crack in their confidence because they haven't considered what they're including, what they're excluding. They don't know about fixtures, any of that stuff. So all in a 10-minute walkthrough, we've accomplished all 4 of those things. And then just before we go, say, you know what, thank you so much for showing me your home. I've made some great notes here about it. I'll tell any buyers that I hear about it. I'll share this with my office as well. And as promised, I want to give you this for sale by owner guide. And then I stand with them shoulder to shoulder and say, let me show what I've prepared for you. Okay. The very first page we go to, as I say, you know what, everybody is skeptical at first, saying, why would a real estate agent give me a guide that helps me sell my home by myself? You should be skeptical. That's natural. I have 3 selfish reasons for doing this. By the way, I'm stepping into role play mode, so I'm going to deliver this to you as if you were the seller, right? I've got 3 selfish reasons for doing this. Okay. Number 1, statistically, 94% of real estate is sold by real estate agents. All right. This doesn't mean you can't be successful. It just means that typically there are real estate agents involved because the job can be very complicated, and this guide will actually help you through that. Okay. So if you end up hiring a real estate agent, I know you want to try this yourself. If you do end up hiring a real estate agent, I would love to be interviewed for that position. Right. So providing this value to you, my first selfish interest is if you do hire an agent, hopefully I'm one that you think of. My second selfish reason for doing this is if this does help you sell your home yourself and you're moving anywhere locally, then you would think fondly of me and say, you know what, I understand how much money I'm saving by not having an agent to sell my home, but now I also understand the benefit of a buyer's agent. And I would, even though I sold my home myself, when I buy my next home, I understand how much value that can be. And so a lot of times this is a way for me to pick up buyers because I'm providing this value and showing the value that to you as a potential client. And then my third selfish reason is, let's say that selfish reason 1 and 2 doesn't work. You don't need me to sell your home. You sell it on your own. As a buyer, maybe you're moving out of state and it's not a local thing that I can help you with. That's fine. But your friends and family come to you and say, how did you do this? or your neighbors come to you and say, how did you do this? I build a lot of my business off of referrals. So if you kindly said, you know what, give Eric Lee a call, because he actually was really helpful to me. He had this great program. It was good information. I said, those are my three selfish reasons. They all hinge on this being valuable, true information for you to help you. Okay. Because if this is a waste of your time, then none of those three selfish reasons are realized. You're not going to value me. You're not going to want to hire me. You're not going to give me good referrals. So this is all great information. Let's talk about the very first thing. One of the number one questions people have is, what do I need to do to get my home ready for sale? And a lot of people jump to these things that they've been wanting to do to their home for 20 years. And they go and they spend $50,000 updating their kitchen, and it results in a $25,000 higher sales price. In effect, they've lost $25,000. Okay. So I want to talk about the real simple things that are simple, and in most cases completely free, that make a dramatic impact on how your home sells. So we're talking about every room here. I've got tips for outside the living room. I'm going to put a star here by the kitchen. Now, folks, the reason why I do this star is because people can read faster than you can talk. Even me, I'm talking fast because I get excited and I'm stumbling over my words. But people can read so much faster than you can talk. I want to have a reason why I'm standing there talking through this with them, and not just handing it to them and say, here you go read this on your own. Okay. So I'm actually going to take out my pen here, and I'm going to put a little star by the kitchen. I'm going to see, the reason I'm starring this is because when you're a for sale by owner, it is inevitable that you're going to have people just drop by with zero notice. They haven't scheduled anything in advance, and they just want to see your home. Kitchen is the number one place that makes or breaks the sale of your home. It's almost impossible, I know, with children to keep a house spotless 24/7. But if you can keep a focus on the kitchen, that's the place to keep the focus. Keep that as clean as possible. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to put a star by is the master bedroom. This is the number 2 area that's very important to people. And the reason why I star this is because when, from a buyer's agent's perspective, if I'm walking through your home with a buyer, and see, you're doing this job and you're hoping to save a lot of money doing this. So there may be times you're walking through with unrepresented buyers as well. So you're not only acting like a listing agent, but possibly like a buyer's agent is the role that you're taking on here. As a buyer's agent, if I'm walking through with buyers and a homeowner has their underwear hanging out to dry or something like that, for a lot of people, that makes them uncomfortable. They feel like they've invaded some personal space, some private space. Maybe they've seen things they shouldn't see, makes them feel awkward and unnatural being there. You don't want that. Okay, so I star this master bedroom because that's the number one place I see that kind of thing. And what we want people to do, in fact, we know somebody's interested in a home when they want to walk through it 2 or 3 times. They do the first walkthrough and then they think, you know what, can I go back and look at this other room again? Now they're mentally measuring it in their mind. They don't do that if they feel like they have inconvenienced you or invaded a private space. Okay. So I put a star here by the master bedroom for that reason as well. The next thing that is very close to number 1 is, not how do I prep my home for sale, but how do I get the best possible price? And there are a lot of bad ways that people price their home that ends up costing them significant amounts of money. In fact, in recent surveys done on a national level, an agent-assisted home sale sells for almost $60,000 more than one without an agent because of some of the mistakes that are made here. So you guys told me that you got your market value because you looked online and kind of seeing what homes around here are going for. What I do is I actually go in and I see what homes have sold for, not what people are asking for, but what they've sold for. I can see if they gave any concessions away, like carpet allowances or closing costs or things like that. And I can identify those homes based on homes that are similar to yours that have sold within the last 6 months, the same types of things that an appraiser would do. And this becomes very important because later on, when a buyer does come along, they have to get an appraisal in order to get a loan. So they're going to be following the same process. And oftentimes I work together with the appraisal, helping provide the comps that justify this value. And so this is not only important for eventually selling the home, because a buyer has to go through this process, but it makes you a strong negotiator. So one of the reasons why I think for sale by owners typically sell for $60,000 less than an agent-assisted home sale is because they don't have confidence in how they price the home. So they're not strong negotiators. So getting that confidence is very important. So I talk about how to get the best price for your home. And to be quite frank, it's me. I can help you out with that. And how much would I charge for this? And why would I do this? Same three selfish reasons. I'm not going to charge anything for it. I'm going to provide some value to you in the hopes that you can either use my services in the future, or you think kindly of me and give me good referrals in the future. Okay. Next, we talk about marketing. This is always something that's frustrating to buyers. They know that they can get a for sale sign from Lowe's or Home Depot, but they're investing sometimes no money, sometimes quite a bit of money in different ways to get the word out about their home. But there's some frustrations that come back, so I'm pushing the word out, but now I've got calls coming in and I've got another job. Can I take time away from my other job to take these phone calls? When I'm not at home, who is scheduling these things, who is available for the showings? All of those types of things are concerns that you want to think about in advance. What kind of buyers do you attract as well? This is a consideration. If you're working with investors, every investor that I know is experienced, they've got money, and they've hired an agent to work with them, right? So that means there's going to be a buyer's agent in the picture. First-time home buyers, they typically always have a buyer's agent in the picture because they don't know what they're doing and they recognize that they don't know what they're doing. Your best chance to save the full commission is with move-up buyers. These are people that have bought and sold their home in the past. They understand somewhat of the process. They're also going to be your biggest challenge because many of them have yet to sell their home, their existing home, in order to buy your home. And that can make for a very complicated legal contract that I would not recommend going into without an attorney or a real estate agent. But that is your best chance to save a full commission. But most of the time, you're going to be working with a buyer's agent involved in the picture. And I'll talk to you a little bit about, I've got a page in here that talks about how to successfully work with them. All right, if you want to hold an open house, I've got some great tips in here for holding an open house. I've got some tips for showing your home. Now, these are very important, okay? I'm going to put a star here by pets. And actually, the last three of these are all really important. Okay. Some people are allergic to pets, even the friendly dogs. They'll jump on people, and sometimes people are coming after work and, they don't want fur on their clothing and everything. So making an effort to have pets off the property. What we don't want to do is lock them in the basement or in a room, because people aren't going to buy your house if they can't see the basement or they can't see every room. They want to see everything. So we need to make an accommodation for showings with pets involved. Another thing that's important is about your presence. Okay. It is taking this job on yourself means that you are now responsible, like a professional would be, to keep these people together. You can't have the husband wandering off to the garage to look at that while the wife looks at the kitchen and kids are in playing with toys. You have to keep them all together. All right. The way that you do that is you allow them to discover the home for themselves. Okay. You keep them together. You're not the tour guide. You're not in the lead. And every for sale by owner I work with has made this mistake where they're leading me through the house and they're not taking time on the things that are important to the buyers. Let the buyers set the pace. You can follow from behind. So yeah, let's go down the hallway here. You guys take the lead, and here on the left is my kids' room. You guys are welcome to go in there, look in the closet, things like that. Keep them together, keep them in front of you. There's some good safety reasons for that as well, but it helps you also observe and see what's important to them. And then one final note down here is I have heard of people that say, I'm not hiring an agent because there's certain rules that we then have to follow. There are no laws that only apply if you're working with a real estate agent. The laws apply to everybody. The real estate agent just happens to know about them. So this idea of, hey, I'm going to hide some things or maybe not disclose some things that otherwise would be disclosed if an agent were involved, don't fall into that. That's fraud. Okay. If an agent's involved, they can help educate you and say, no, this is important. You have to disclose it. It's a law. You have to disclose these things. Not disclosing is the number one reason for people getting sued. So make sure that that's not a reason why you're not hiring an agent, because that's probably the number one reason. Well, not the number one, but it's one of the important reasons why you should. Okay. I've also got some great safety reminders in here. The only one I'm going to start down here is number 6 and number 10. Okay. We all think we would never do this, leave a minor child alone in the home. And yet all the time when I'm working with for sale by owners, I'm like, hey, wonder if I can see your home. You know, we're going to be available at 5 o'clock. And they're thinking, I don't get home from work till 6, but my kids have been home. And my kid's 15 years old. He's probably responsible. I'm going to let my kid show the home. And you do that spur of the moment. You don't think about it. Right now, it sounds ludicrous, but people are always doing it. So I want to give that warning right up front. Number 10 down here is important because when people make an offer, I've seen very intelligent people who are very, this one guy ran an international business, yet somebody approached him with a blank 8.5 by 11 paper, and they wrote up their own contract on a blank 8.5 by 11. Inevitably, this went to attorneys. They called me. That's how I knew about it. They called me after they had already been sued and said, hey, can you help us? I'm like, man, you stepped in it already. Right now it's attorneys, you're getting sued. Okay. You have to get the attorneys involved because you're being sued. My job is to help you before signing any document. Okay. So the legal paperwork is very important. Don't sign things if you're not exactly sure what it is. Okay. Qualifying your buyers. A lot of sellers don't think about this. Do you have a great lender that you're working with right now? See, a lot of people don't think about getting a great lender until they're buying their next home. You should have a great lender as you're selling your home, because anybody coming along that isn't qualified, you don't say, go get qualified and then talk to me. In fact, a lot of for sale by owners don't even think about this at all. Okay. But you don't want to say, go get qualified and then come talk to me. Say, go talk to my lender. This guy's awesome, and I trust his pre-approvals. Okay. The reason why you want to do that is because if you send somebody out to just some random person, sometimes they don't do the thorough checks. Somebody calls up and says, yeah, I make $100,000 a year and I've got 750 credit score. What rates would I get? And that's all they did. They said, well, you can get this and here's your payments. Great. I'm pre-qualified. No, they're not pre-qualified, right? They didn't have a credit check run. They didn't verify income. So you want a lender that does all of that stuff so that when you go under contract with somebody, you know that they can perform, because you are taking your home off the market. Nobody else, you can't accept an offer from anybody else. You've got a binding contract. You need to know with somebody that can perform. So I'll get you the name of my lender so that you have somebody. All right. Next, I've got a page in here that talks about negotiations. One of the great assets or benefits that an agent provides you is that they help with these negotiations. And it's not for the reasons you would expect. It's because there's a buffer zone between the buyer and the seller. Buyers and sellers get frustrated with this process. There's a lot of money at stake. There's high emotions. It's very stressful. It's easy to get frustrated with each other. And so we find deals going one of two ways. Number one, they get frustrated, they fight, deal falls apart. Okay. Number two, they're playing buddy-buddy and being so nice that sellers are giving away way more money than they should. The buyer says, hey, you plan on leaving that fridge? And the husband says, sure, we can do that. But they don't put it in writing. And when moving time comes around, the husband's not there. The wife's directing the movers. And they're like, we taking the fridge? And she says, yep, take the fridge. And now people are suing each other after the fact. So either people get too mean or they get too nice, but there's conflicts with that. Okay. So I've got some great rules here that will help you with those conflicts. And then we've mentioned this several times, but this is the number one value that a real estate agent provides, is helping you with the paperwork. We've talked about complications with a move-up buyer. They want to make an offer on your home subject to the sale of their home. Okay. We've talked about complications with people qualifying, all of these different things. So getting familiar with the contracts is vital. You can't go online and just Google a real estate purchase contract, because you'll get one from another state that's not even valid here, and it'll create problems. So if you have questions on a contract, on an offer, something like that, before you sign anything, you can call me. Now, obviously, if I'm getting involved, I'll have to, charge a commission, because that's how I do my business, but it's much better than ending up in a lawsuit down the road. Okay. So if you have questions, you want to give me a call. And then last thing that I've got in here is dealing with agents. Okay. You'll probably get a bunch of calls from agents that are trying to list your home. If that happens, one of the easiest way to get them off the phone is say, you know what, I've already got a real estate agent that I'm going to use. I just wanted to try this myself for a little bit, but thank you for your time. Okay. They'll get off the phone instantly. A few of them will have buyers that they're representing. So I want to talk about how that works. Okay. Most of the time when we list a home, the listing agent says, okay, I'm going to charge, and it's all negotiable. It could be 6%, it could be 5%, whatever. Let's say that 6%. Okay. Listing agent charges 6%. What they do is they say, you know what? I only know 500 people in my database. But if I reach out to the other 20,000 agents in the state, and that's Utah, that's small. There's states out there with 10 times that, right? But if I reach out to the other 20,000 agents in the state with all of their databases of 500 people, I've got great odds of selling this home. So I've got, if I'm going to make 6%, I can offer 3% of that to a buyer's agent. And that's typically how it works. Okay. And that helps bring in buyer's agents. It's a cooperating arrangement there. Now, since you're doing this yourself, just understand that a lot of buyer's agents are compensated by the listing agent. Since there's no listing agent, they're going to hope for and negotiate for compensation from you. So one of the understandings of this is that, hey, I'm doing all of this work and I'm going to save 6%. And again, in over 90% of the case, you're doing all of this work and you're going to save 3% at most, because there's almost always a buyer's agent involved. All right. So with all of that said, I'll leave this guide with you to review. And like I said, I'd be happy to do that market analysis for you. Now that I've walked through the home and gotten some details on it, I can do a comprehensive market analysis for you, and I'll get that lender's name and number. I'm still going to be working in this neighborhood. Are you guys free around this time tomorrow or the next day? And I could drop that off to you and answer any questions. During that time, you guys can review all of this information that I'm going to leave with you. And if you have questions, you can ask me about it then. Does that sound good? Okay, great. I'll see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Does that make sense, guys?
Makes sense.
And then they get talking about it and they're thinking, damn, we're only saving 3%. Okay. And usually I include one sheet at the end and I say, you know what? I do respect your desire here to save some money. And so I do have a program for sell by owners where typically I charge 6% to list somebody's home. But I respect what you're trying to do here, and I'll do it for 5%. Okay. So that's up to you guys if you want a discount or not. I like to do it for sell by owners. And then they're thinking, you know what? We got in this to save 6%. Now we're only saving 2% because this guy would do it for 5%. We're going to have to pay 3% to a buyer's agent anyways. And so for 2%, we're going to really do all of this stuff. See, what I've done is I've just educated them about how complicated this can be. And I've done so in a very honest manner. All of those things are very real challenges that they're going to face. So I've educated them about these real challenges. I've educated them. They're not saving the amount of money that they thought they were saving. And then I've given them a day or two to stew on it while I'm preparing valuable information. And then I come back and I say, okay, here's the market analysis for you. Did you have any questions about that paperwork that I sent you? And many, many of these for sell by owners will say at that point, you know what? We've thought about it and we'd like to work with you. If they don't say that, then the fortune's in follow-up. You've all heard that term, right? So we're going to be following up with them at least every week, right? And the follow-ups are very simple. Hey, I'm that guy that dropped by that for sell by owner guide to you. Just want to see how things are going for you. Do you have any questions I can answer for you? If you've gotten any offers, and if they say, yeah, we've got an offer and this is what they're saying, what do you think about that? Then I draw a very clear line and say, you know what, any advice that I give you, the law actually calls that agency by implication. I've acted as your agent and I could have liability. So I am happy to help you out. I can tell you need some help. I can help you, but I would need to be, once I get involved at all, I'm in all the way and I'll help you through to the end. But you've already got a buyer on the line here, so we can save a lot of money with marketing. How do you feel if I help you out for 2% or 1.5% or whatever? You guys do the math in your head, whatever works for you. Okay. And then say, yeah, I think that's fair. Okay. But we don't work for free. All right. We don't give them copies of contracts. All of that creates agency by implication. We're not answering legal questions for them as a favor. We're drawing a hard line on some of those things. We can do a CMA for them without agency by implication. Give them the name of your lender. And by the way, I tell my lender, hey, I just gave your name to somebody If they call you asking about how to fill out a contract, I want to make sure you understand the law that would be practicing real estate without a license. And what I expect from you when I give your name out, because they're on my power team, right? So I'm having these quarterly conversations with them. I'm going to be giving your name out to all of these for sale by owners I work with. If they call you, here's your script. You know what? That's a great question. I can't help you with that because that would be practicing real estate without a license for me. I've seen lots of contracts. There is nobody better than Eric though. So give Eric Lee a call. He is the best real estate agent that I know. He can help you with this. And I train my title guy the same way. Don't give him contracts. Okay. So any questions for me, you guys? Your homework assignment would be to customize your for sale by owner presentation. If you see a for sale by owner coming up, you want to be prepared. So you know where to get it. You go to Elevate. In fact, I will share the screen here. Okay. We go to Elevate, training, drop down to Elite Agent Training. And then you've got access to some of these things for sale by owner presentation right there in Word format. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of FSBOs, the owners really price their house really high over the market. How do you deal with that? You know, like, all of a sudden.
I'm same process. I'll go through the home. I'll establish that rapport. How did you price your home? And they tell me, and I say, okay, great. And then when I go through the presentation with them, or I give them this for sale by owner guide, and I talk about how home prices are established and how that gives them confidence in their negotiation, they're not confident with how they price their home. Okay. And so there are cracks in their confidence, whether they show those cracks or not. They usually don't, because that shows weakness and nobody wants to appear weak or stupid, right? Especially in front of a stranger.
Right.
So they may hide it from you very well, but nobody's confident in that. In fact, how many times do you see postings by realtors saying, hey guys, give me your opinion on this price? We're not even confident, and we've got all the tools. They don't have any of the tools, right? So they're not confident in their pricing. So go through the presentation the same way and say, would you like me to give you a CMA? I can have that prepared for you in the next day or two. And then that's for them. And yeah, some of them like, you know what, I'm going to keep trying. $40,000 overpriced. Great. Good luck. I'll stay in touch with you. I'm in touch every week. They're going to be like, hey, it's not selling. Yeah. And I'm not going to say no shit, Sherlock. I'm going to say, I would love to help you with that, and come and sit down and say, here's the market analysis. In fact, I've run one in the last month since you've been trying to sell this home. Here's current numbers for you. This is where we need to be. Okay.
Okay.
Good question though. Any others? Okay, we'll go ahead and end the recording. Thank you guys.